The alien fleet hovered above Earth, a vast armada of ships that glimmered with eerie, otherworldly technology. Their leader, a towering figure in a suit of black metallic armor, peered down at the planet below through the giant observation window of his flagship. The screen displayed Earth's defenses, what the humans thought were their last line of defense. Fighter jets, missile systems, and an army of soldiers. The leader's lip curled into a cruel smile as he analyzed the planet's military forces. To him, they looked laughable. These tiny creatures, he sneered, his voice cold and filled with disdain. They think they can stop us. Around him, his commanders nodded in agreement. The alien fleet had no fear. They were equipped with cloaking devices that made them nearly invisible, advanced AI systems that controlled their fleets, and robots with unmatched precision and firepower. To them, humanity's weapons were primitive, nothing more than toys. They believed their invasion of Earth would be quick and effortless, a mere formality. The leader continued to mock the humans, his voice echoing through the command room. Their armies are vast, but they are no match for us. We are the future of the galaxy. Their primitive minds cannot even begin to understand the power we possess. As he spoke, the human soldiers below were preparing for the worst. In a hidden underground base, Earth's military leadership gathered, putting the final touches on their defense strategy. They knew that their weapons were no match for the alien technology, but they also knew that they had something the aliens didn't: determination. Among the soldiers was Commander Ryan Knight, a man who had led countless missions and fought through wars that seemed impossible to win. But as he stood in the war room, overseeing the preparations for the first strike, there was a weight on his shoulders. This time, the stakes were higher than ever. The aliens weren't just invading. They were coming to wipe out humanity. He could feel the tension in the air, the sense that this could be the last stand for Earth. The commander ran a hand through his short-cropped hair, his brow furrowed with concern, but his eyes were steady. There was no time for fear now. "Prepare for the worst," he said, his voice calm but firm. "We fight not just for ourselves, but for every man, woman, and child on this planet." His team moved into action, double-checking their equipment, checking their weapons, and gathering their courage. But despite their best efforts, the shadow of doubt still loomed over them. Earth's army, despite their courage, didn't stand a chance against the advanced technology of the alien fleet. Their weaponry, while formidable, was nothing compared to the aliens' cloaking devices, which made it impossible to track their movements. The Earth's air defenses could be disabled before they even knew what hit them. The humans were outgunned, outclassed, and completely outmatched. But there was no turning back now. As Ryan looked around the room at his fellow soldiers, he felt a sudden surge of hope. It wasn't their weapons that would win this battle. It was their hearts, their will to fight, and their refusal to give up. And that made all the difference. Outside, the first wave of alien ships began to drop out of hyperspace, silently cloaked in the void. Earth's satellites detected them, but it was already too late. Before any defensive systems could react, the aliens launched their first strike. The sky above Earth was torn apart as the first wave of bombs fell, fiery explosions lighting up the atmosphere. The force was immense. Buildings crumbled, cities were wiped off the map, and millions perished in an instant. From above, the cloaked ships seemed to be everywhere, their weapons invisible and lethal. Human forces fired back with everything they had: missiles, anti-aircraft guns, and desperate attempts to bring down the invisible ships. But it was clear, their efforts were futile. Ryan watched the destruction unfold on the massive screen in front of him. His heart sank as the ground forces were decimated, the enemy's superiority made painfully clear. Yet something within him refused to give in to despair. Despite all odds, despite the overwhelming power of the aliens, the humans fought on. From deep underground, an emergency signal was sent out, a distress call that would be heard across the world. Earth is under attack. The enemy is advanced, but we will not surrender. In the chaos, Human soldiers fought back as best as they could. They didn't have the fancy tech the aliens did, but they had something far more powerful: their ingenuity. The humans used the environment to their advantage, launching surprise attacks, setting up makeshift defenses, and targeting the vulnerable points of the alien ships. It was clear that they were fighting an enemy they couldn't defeat with raw power alone. They had to rely on their wits, their speed, and their sheer will to survive. The protagonist, Commander Ryan Knight, stood firm with his team, watching the war unfold. Every explosion, every moment of chaos, only seemed to make him more determined. He wasn't going to let Earth fall without a fight. He would lead his soldiers into the heart of the alien invasion, no matter how impossible it seemed. The first wave of alien bombardment lasted for hours. The aliens watched from above as the humans below scrambled to survive. But as the dust settled, something unexpected happened. Earth's forces, though battered and broken, stood up again. The war wasn't over, it had just begun. The aliens, for all their technology, had made one mistake. They had underestimated humanity. As the alien fleet began to regroup, the humans took their first breaths of resistance. They were not going to let their planet be taken without a fight. And in the dark depths of the chaos, Ryan knew that this was only the beginning. The humans had one thing the aliens didn't: the will to never give up. With a grim expression, Ryan turned to his team. "We fight back now," he said, his voice steady but filled with fire. "This isn't just about Earth. This is about every species, every soul that's ever been trampled by forces like these. It ends now." The first chapter of the battle was over, but it had already set the stage for a war unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The humans had taken the first step toward victory, and they would not stop until they had reclaimed their home. The air was thick with the sound of explosions and the distant whine of alien war machines as the human forces prepared for the second wave of the invasion. The cities were burning and millions were already lost, but the fight was far from over. Commander Ryan Knight's unit had been assigned to the heart of the urban battlefield, where the alien forces were deploying their ground troops. Their mission was simple: disrupt the enemy as much as possible, slow them down, and buy the rest of Earth's defenses time to regroup. But the odds were even more stacked against them now. Ryan gathered his team in a makeshift war room beneath the crumbling remains of a skyscraper. His fingers drummed on the edge of a rusted table as he looked at the map in front of him, the city's layout detailed in every corner. The alien forces were unlike anything Earth had faced before. They had deployed massive AI-controlled robots, drones, and cloaked ground units, each one capable of wiping out entire squads of human soldiers in a matter of seconds. But Ryan wasn't about to let that stop him. "We might be outgunned, but we're not outsmarted," he said, his voice low and filled with determination. "We've got an advantage, something they don't expect." The team exchanged nervous but hopeful glances. The aliens had assumed that Earth's forces were weak, that humanity would fall with little resistance. They hadn't counted on the ingenuity of the human spirit. Ryan's unit had managed to reverse engineer a few pieces of alien technology they had captured from the first wave of attack. They now had cloaking devices, the very same technology the aliens had used to strike from the shadows. It was far from perfect, but it was enough. "Let's move out," Ryan ordered, leading the way into the heart of the city, his team following closely behind. The streets were a war zone, debris scattered everywhere, smoke rising from buildings that had once stood tall. The hum of alien drones could be heard in the distance, and the faint sound of marching robots sent a chill down their spines. As they approached the enemy's deployment zone, the first wave of aliens was already setting up camp. The AI-controlled robots patrolled the streets, while smaller drones flew overhead, scanning for any signs of human movement. The aliens were overly confident, convinced that no human could stand up to their technological superiority. They hadn't counted on the element of surprise. Ryan motioned to his team, signaling for them to activate the cloaking devices. One by one, They disappeared into the shadows, invisible to the alien drones. The humans had spent weeks scavenging alien tech, adapting it for their own use. They had also set up traps in strategic locations, hidden explosives, EMP devices, and barricades made from the rubble of destroyed buildings. The first shots fired were from the humans. A well-placed explosive detonated beneath an alien robot, sending it crashing to the ground in a heap of twisted metal. The aliens had no time to react. The human soldiers, cloaked and armed with alien energy weapons, took down drone after drone, quickly overwhelming the patrols. Ryan's heart raced as the action intensified. The human forces, though small and outgunned, were proving more effective than anyone had imagined. The combination of their guerrilla tactics and reverse-engineered alien technology was turning the tables on the invaders. The robots, designed to fight with precision and strength, were no match for the humans' adaptability. Ryan watched with a mix of pride and disbelief as his team managed to take down the enemy forces one by one. The tide was beginning to turn. But just as they were gaining ground, disaster struck. In the heat of the battle, Bonner, one of Ryan's closest friends and most trusted soldiers, was caught in the crossfire. An alien drone, hidden in a nearby building, fired a burst of energy that struck Bonner square in the chest. The blast sent him flying backward, his body slamming into the ground with a sickening thud. Ryan rushed to his side, heart pounding in his chest. "Bonner, stay with me," he shouted, but there was no response. Bonner's eyes were closed, his body limp, blood pooling around him. Ryan's hands shook as he tried to assess the damage. There was no time to lose. The enemy was closing in, and Bonner needed help. Now. "Medic," Ryan yelled, his voice hoarse. One of his soldiers knelt beside him, trying to stabilize Bonner's condition, but the damage was severe. It was clear that Bonner's injuries were fatal. "Sir, the medic started, but Ryan couldn't hear him anymore. His vision blurred as he looked down at his fallen comrade, the weight of responsibility crashing down on him. He had led Bonner and the rest of the team into this battle, knowing the risks, but never expecting the price to be this high. The battle raged on around them, but for Ryan, it all felt like it was in slow motion. Bonner had been more than just a soldier to him. They had fought side by side for years, saved each other's lives countless times, and now Ryan had failed him. He had promised to bring everyone home, and now Bonner was gone. Tears welled up in Ryan's eyes, but he wiped them away angrily. There was no time for grief. Not yet. The fight wasn't over. Bonner wouldn't want him to stop now. "We finished this," Ryan said, his voice steady, though his heart ached. He stood up and turned to his team, who were watching him closely. They had all seen what happened to Bonner, and they were waiting for his next move. Ryan clenched his fists, pushing the grief aside. "We don't let his death be in vain. We push forward. We take down every one of these bastards." With renewed determination, Ryan and his team pressed on. The cloaking devices were still working, and they continued to use the alien technology to their advantage. The humans' attacks grew bolder, more daring, as they took down one alien after another. The streets were littered with the wreckage of destroyed robots and drones, their once imposing forms now nothing more than scrap metal. As the battle reached its peak, the aliens began to retreat, their confidence shattered by the unexpected resistance they had encountered. For the first time since the invasion began, the alien forces seemed uncertain. Their once indestructible technology was being brought down by humans using nothing but their wits and stolen tech. The first shots fired were from the humans. A well-placed explosive detonated beneath an alien robot, sending it crashing to the ground in a heap of twisted metal. The aliens had no time to react. The human soldiers, cloaked and armed with alien energy weapons, took down drone after drone, quickly overwhelming the patrols. Ryan's heart raced as the action intensified. The human forces, though small and outgunned, were proving more effective than anyone had imagined. The combination of their guerrilla tactics and reverse-engineered alien technology was turning the tables on the invaders. The robots, designed to fight with precision and strength, were no match for the humans' adaptability. Ryan watched with a mix of pride and disbelief as his team managed to take down the enemy forces one by one. The tide was beginning to turn. But just as they were gaining ground, disaster struck. In the heat of the battle, Bonner, one of Ryan's closest friends and most trusted soldiers, was caught in the crossfire. An alien drone, hidden in a nearby building, fired a burst of energy that struck Bonner square in the chest. The blast sent him flying backward, his body slamming into the ground with a sickening thud. Ryan rushed to his side, heart pounding in his chest. "Bonner, stay with me," he shouted, but there was no response. Bonner's eyes were closed, his body limp, blood pooling around him. Ryan's hands shook as he tried to assess the damage. There was no time to lose. The enemy was closing in, and Bonner needed help. Now. "Medic," Ryan yelled, his voice hoarse. One of his soldiers knelt beside him, trying to stabilize Bonner's condition, but the damage was severe. It was clear that Bonner's injuries were fatal. "Sir, the medic started, but Ryan couldn't hear him anymore. His vision blurred as he looked down at his fallen comrade, the weight of responsibility crashing down on him. He had led Bonner and the rest of the team into this battle, knowing the risks, but never expecting the price to be this high. The battle raged on around them, but for Ryan, it all felt like it was in slow motion. Bonner had been more than just a soldier to him. They had fought side by side for years, saved each other's lives countless times, and now Ryan had failed him. He had promised to bring everyone home, and now Bonner was gone. Tears welled up in Ryan's eyes, but he wiped them away angrily. There was no time for grief. Not yet. The fight wasn't over. Bonner wouldn't want him to stop now. "We finished this," Ryan said, his voice steady, though his heart ached. He stood up and turned to his team, who were watching him closely. They had all seen what happened to Bonner, and they were waiting for his next move. Ryan clenched his fists, pushing the grief aside. "We don't let his death be in vain. We push forward. We take down every one of these bastards." With renewed determination, Ryan and his team pressed on. The cloaking devices were still working, and they continued to use the alien technology to their advantage. The humans' attacks grew bolder, more daring, as they took down one alien after another. The streets were littered with the wreckage of destroyed robots and drones, their once imposing forms now nothing more than scrap metal. As the battle reached its peak, the aliens began to retreat, their confidence shattered by the unexpected resistance they had encountered. For the first time since the invasion began, the alien forces seemed uncertain. Their once indestructible technology was being brought down by humans using nothing but their wits and stolen tech. But Ryan knew that this victory, small as it was, wouldn't end the war. The aliens would regroup, and they would come back stronger. The fight for Earth was far from over. But today, for the first time, humanity had shown them that they were not as weak as the aliens had thought. And as Ryan looked down at Bonner's lifeless body, he swore to himself that he would fight until the end. He would make sure that the humans, the soldiers who had fought so bravely, would be the ones to decide the fate of this war. This was only the beginning. The battle for Earth had reached a critical moment. After days of intense fighting, the alien forces had begun to realize that humanity wasn't going to surrender quietly. Earth's soldiers, despite their outdated technology and seemingly small numbers, were proving to be a formidable enemy. The aliens had expected a swift victory and easy conquest of a planet they had long dismissed as insignificant, but they had underestimated the strength of the human spirit. Ryan Knight and his team were in the heart of the conflict, leading a small but determined group of soldiers who had made it their mission to show the invaders that Earth was not a place they could easily conquer. The alien forces, despite their advanced technology, were beginning to show cracks in their once confident demeanor. They had expected humans to fold under pressure, to retreat in fear, but that wasn't happening. The alien fleet, massive and intimidating, had not anticipated that Earth's military would begin to strike back with such force. Ryan's team had managed a small but significant victory when they successfully destroyed one of the cloaked alien ships. The victory was a hard-earned one, achieved through a combination of human ingenuity and alien technology they had scavenged from previous battles. They had carefully analyzed the cloaking devices, reverse engineering them to the point where they could disrupt the ship's camouflage long enough to launch a direct assault. The alien ship, once invisible and nearly invincible, was now in flames, its wreckage scattering across the skies above the battlefield. The destruction of the cloaked ship sent shockwaves through the alien ranks. For the first time, they were forced to adjust their tactics. They had relied so heavily on their technological superiority, their ability to stay hidden and strike with precision, that the destruction of their ship left them reeling. The humans had exposed a weakness, and that realization spread through the alien commanders like wildfire. As the battle continued, Earth's soldiers gained small victories. They had learned how to use the alien technology to their advantage, turning the invaders' own weapons against them. Ryan's team had reverse-engineered more of the advanced tech, adapting it to suit human needs. They had managed to disable several AI-controlled ships, taking control of the invaders' technology and using it to launch their own attacks. The once powerful alien fleet, which had seemed unstoppable just days ago, was now under threat from the very technology they had used to dominate. Ryan stood on a rooftop, surveying the battlefield below. The city was in ruins, the once thriving metropolis now a smoldering wasteland. But despite the devastation, there was a sense of hope in the air. The human resistance was growing stronger. The aliens were retreating in some areas, their forces scattered and disorganized. The fight was far from over, but the tide was beginning to turn. In the distance, Ryan could see an alien war machine advancing, its massive armored body moving through the streets with a sense of purpose. The enemy troops were marching in formation, confident in their superiority. But as Ryan watched, he saw the first signs of hesitation. The aliens were beginning to slow down, their once unshakable confidence now tempered with uncertainty. They had underestimated the humans, and now they were paying the price. Ryan's heart raced as he watched his team spring into action. They had prepared for this moment. The humans had set traps, using the wreckage of destroyed buildings as cover and creating barricades from the debris. The alien soldiers, focused on their mission, didn't see it coming. Ryan's team activated their cloaking devices, moving silently through the smoke-filled streets, their weapons at the ready. The battle that followed was intense and fast-paced, a blur of laser fire, explosions, and the sounds of clashing metal. The humans, using their cloaked advantage, struck swiftly, taking down alien drones and robots in close-quarters combat. Ryan led his team through the chaos, his focus sharp as he issued orders to his soldiers. Each movement was calculated, each strike precise. Despite being outgunned, the humans were proving to be the more resourceful and resilient force. One of the most intense moments of the battle came when Ryan's team engaged in hand-to-hand combat with a group of alien soldiers. The aliens were faster, stronger, and better equipped, but the humans had something they didn't: the will to fight. Ryan's soldiers, fueled by the desire to protect their planet and loved ones, fought with an intensity that matched the alien invaders. The battlefield became a blur of movement as Ryan's team used everything at their disposal: fists, knives, improvised weapons, to take down the alien soldiers one by one. Ryan's heart was pounding in his chest as he fought side by side with his team, each blow landing with the sound of metal against flesh. The clash of swords and the hum of alien weapons filled the air. Ryan's mind was focused entirely on the fight, but there was a part of him that couldn't help but marvel at the determination of his comrades. Each soldier, whether injured or not, continued to press on, refusing to give up. They were the underdogs, fighting against a technologically superior force, but they were not backing down. The streets were alive with action. Ryan's team moved like a well-oiled machine, each soldier knowing their role and executing it with precision. As the battle raged on, the alien forces began to retreat. The AI-controlled ships, once thought invincible, were being brought down by the very technology the aliens had used to conquer other planets. The humans were turning the tide, and the aliens were starting to realize that Earth was not the easy conquest they had thought it would be. Ryan stood at the forefront, watching as the aliens' forces scattered, their confidence shattered. The humans had gained the upper hand, and the alien forces were now on the defensive. Ryan knew this was just one battle in a much larger war, but it was a turning point. The alien forces had learned a hard lesson. Humanity was not to be underestimated. And as Ryan looked at the chaos around him, the smoke rising from burning buildings, the wreckage of destroyed alien machines, and the battered but determined faces of his soldiers, he felt a sense of hope that he hadn't felt in days. The fight for Earth was far from over. But this victory, small as it may seem in the grand scheme of things, was proof that the underdog could triumph. Earth's soldiers had fought back, using their ingenuity and determination to hold their ground. The alien forces had underestimated them once, but they wouldn't make that mistake again. And neither would Ryan. This was just the beginning. The war for Earth was far from over, but the humans were ready for whatever came next. The final battle for Earth had arrived, and it was shaping up to be humanity's last stand. The alien leader, confident that his forces would crush the last resistance, had given the order for a full-scale assault on Earth's capital. The city, once a symbol of human achievement, now stood as the last stronghold against the overwhelming alien invasion. It was their final chance to save the planet. Ryan Knight and his team, battle-worn and exhausted, knew what was at stake. The aliens had underestimated them before, but this time they would be fighting for their lives. Armed with salvaged alien technology, human ingenuity, and an unyielding will to survive, they had become a force to be reckoned with. But this would be their most dangerous mission yet. The alien fleet, once cloaked in invisibility, now descended on Earth with all the fury of an unstoppable juggernaut. They had come to finish what they started. As Ryan looked out over the capital, he saw the enormity of what was about to unfold. The skyline was filled with the shadows of the alien war machines as they descended, their massive forms blotting out the sky. Below, the human forces were preparing for their final assault. The city was in chaos, but there was a palpable sense of determination in the air. Everyone knew the odds were slim, but they were ready to fight to the last breath. The protagonist's team, including Bonner, was at the forefront of the human resistance. Bonner, despite his injuries from the previous battles, had insisted on returning to the front lines. His resolve was unwavering, and his presence inspired the others to push forward. Ryan, however, could see the strain in his friend's eyes. The battle had taken its toll on them all, but they knew there was no turning back now. The alien forces had deployed their eye-controlled armies, vast legions of robots and drones that were designed to overwhelm human defenses. These machines, far superior in strength and speed, were formidable opponents. Yet the humans had learned how to fight back. They had adapted to the alien technology, scavenging pieces of it and using it to their advantage. They had reverse-engineered cloaking devices to hide their movements, reprogrammed drones to fight for them, and developed traps to neutralize the alien robots. The battle began with a deafening roar as the alien forces launched their assault. The first wave of eye-controlled robots charged through the streets, their metallic feet pounding the ground with unrelenting force. They were followed by drones and heavily armored vehicles that sprayed deadly laser fire in all directions. The air was thick with smoke and the sound of battle as the robots moved through the city, systematically destroying everything in their path. Ryan's team, positioned on the front lines, sprang into action. Using the alien cloaking devices they had salvaged, they disappeared into the shadows, ready to strike. The first few minutes of the battle were a blur of chaos as the humans used their knowledge of the city's layout to launch surprise attacks on the alien forces. Explosions rocked the ground as traps were triggered, taking down several of the alien drones before they could even react. Ryan, leading the charge, knew this was a pivotal moment. The aliens had the advantage in technology, but the humans had the advantage in spirit. They fought not just for survival, but for their homes, their families, and their very way of life. Every soldier knew this might be their final battle, but they would not go down without a fight. The AI-controlled armies clashed with the human forces in a series of fast-paced, brutal engagements. The humans fought with everything they had, using their creativity to stay one step ahead of the technologically superior invaders. Ryan's team set traps using alien cloaking technology, making the machines think they were in one location while they launched attacks from another. They hacked into enemy drones, turning the very machines meant to destroy them into allies. It was a deadly game of cat and mouse, where every move had to be calculated and every action was crucial. In the midst of the chaos, Ryan's heart sank as he saw Bonner, his closest friend, fall once again. A robotic drone, armed with powerful laser cannons, had caught him in its sights, and despite his best efforts to evade it, the blast struck him. Bonner collapsed to the ground, his body racked with pain. Ryan rushed to his side, but there was no time to mourn. The battle was still raging, and Bonner, ever the soldier, pushed himself up, gritting his teeth through the pain. "I'm not done yet," Bonner muttered, his voice strained but determined. Ryan nodded, refusing to let his emotions cloud his judgment. They had all sacrificed so much already, and the mission had to come first. Bonner, despite his injuries, insisted on continuing the fight. His determination served as a powerful reminder of what humanity was capable of. They had been through so much together, and it was clear that Bonner would never give up, no matter the cost. The human forces continued their assault, pushing deeper into the heart of the alien offensive. Ryan's team engaged the robots in intense close-quarters combat, using everything from knives to makeshift weapons to disable the machines. The streets were filled with the sounds of battle, laser fire, the crunch of metal, and the screams of soldiers as they fought for their lives. The battle grew more desperate as the alien leader, watching from afar, ordered the next wave of attacks. The remaining alien forces were beginning to regroup, and Ryan knew they had to strike decisively before the tide turned back in the invaders' favor. With the city's defenses faltering and the alien forces closing in, Ryan made a bold decision. He ordered his team to charge the alien command center directly, risking everything for a chance to end the conflict. The final push was nothing short of chaotic. As the humans stormed the alien command center, the city around them was torn apart by explosions, fire, and the relentless assault of alien forces. Bonner, despite his injuries, fought fiercely by Ryan's side, but the toll of the battle was becoming too much. The two friends shared a look, one of understanding, as they pressed on, determined to end the war once and for all. In the heat of the final confrontation, Bonner was hit once again. This time, there was no coming back. His body crumpled to the ground, his life slipping away in the midst of the chaos. Ryan felt a crushing weight on his chest as he watched his friend fall, but he refused to let that be the end. The human soldiers, driven by the sacrifices of their fallen comrades, launched their final assault with renewed fury. They pushed forward, taking down the alien defenses and ultimately breaching the command center. In the final moments of the battle, as the last of the alien forces were defeated, Ryan stood amidst the wreckage. The city was in ruins, but the human race had won. It had been a long, hard fight, but humanity had prevailed against the technologically superior alien forces. The cost had been high, with many brave soldiers, including Bonner, giving their lives for the cause. But they had won, and Earth was free. Ryan looked around at the destruction, the bodies of fallen soldiers, and the wreckage of alien machines. The battle was over, but the memory of the sacrifices made would never fade. It was a bittersweet victory, one that would forever be etched in the history of Earth. Humanity had triumphed, but at what cost? Ryan took a deep breath, knowing that despite the loss, they had proven the greatest strength of all, the indomitable human spirit. The final push had begun. Earth's survival now depended on the brave few soldiers who had fought through wave after wave of alien invaders. After countless battles, Ryan Knight and his remaining comrades had infiltrated the heart of the alien fleet. It was their last chance to end this war once and for all. The alien leader, confident in the destruction of Earth, believed victory was assured. But humanity had one last weapon: the unyielding will to survive. The final battle was not to be fought in the skies or on the city streets anymore. No, it would be fought in the belly of the beast, deep within the heart of the alien fleet, where the alien leader and the central AI controlled the fate of the war. Ryan and his team knew that if they could destroy the central AI, they could disable the alien fleet. The mission was clear, but the risks were high. The alien defenses were stronger than ever, and the AI had evolved, becoming more intelligent, more unpredictable. As the humans advanced through the wreckage of Earth's cities, explosions rained down above them. The atmosphere shook from the force of the orbital bombardments as alien ships hovered above the planet, launching relentless attacks. It felt as though the end was imminent. The sky above Earth was a war zone, filled with fire and debris as alien vessels rained down their fury on the planet's surface. The humans, battered and bruised from days of fighting, were far from giving up. They pressed forward, moving through the ruins and underground tunnels, infiltrating enemy lines in ways their enemies had never anticipated. The mission was dangerous. Every step they took brought them closer to the alien leader, but it also meant they were getting closer to their own doom. With cloaking technology and scavenged weapons, Ryan's team crept through the heart of the alien fleet, avoiding detection and striking when they could. The corridors of the alien ships were narrow and dimly lit, creating an eerie, claustrophobic atmosphere. The sound of their footsteps echoed off the cold metal walls as they moved quickly, knowing that time was running out. Every second counted. Every decision could mean life or death. Tensions ran high as they advanced deeper into the alien ships. Ryan knew they couldn't afford to be caught. The alien robots, armed with advanced weapons and AI-controlled drones, were everywhere. The team had to be swift, taking out enemies silently, their every movement coordinated and precise. They passed through darkened hallways and avoided patrols, using the alien cloaking technology they had reverse-engineered to stay hidden. But as they got closer to their target, the alien forces seemed to grow stronger, more alert. It was as if they knew their time was running out. The closer they got to the alien leader's command center, the more intense the battle became. The AI-controlled defense systems were unlike anything they had faced before. It was no longer just a fight against machines. It was a battle against an intelligence that could think, adapt, and predict human actions. Every step was met with resistance as the soldiers faced off against drones, robots, and automated defenses designed to eliminate any intruders. But Ryan and his team didn't falter. They fought with everything they had, using their knowledge of the alien technology and their military training to take down their enemies one by one. The heart-pounding action continued as the team fought their way through, their weapons blazing. Explosions rang out as they detonated charges and hacked into enemy systems, turning the very technology the aliens had once used against them. They moved quickly, not allowing themselves to be slowed down by the gravity of what they were up against. They had come too far, lost too many friends, to let this final chance slip through their fingers. As they reached the core of the alien fleet, the final confrontation loomed large. The alien leader was waiting for them, surrounded by his most elite guards. The battle-hardened soldiers knew this would be no ordinary fight. The alien leader, towering and imperious, was a force of nature. His alien armor gleamed under the artificial lights, and his cold eyes were full of disdain for humanity. He had seen the humans struggle, but he had never truly understood their resolve. He had thought of them as weak, insignificant creatures, until now. Ryan faced off against the alien leader, his heart pounding in his chest. The weight of everything they had fought for pressed down on him. The fate of Earth was in his hands. As the two adversaries locked eyes, Ryan could feel the tension in the air. The final fight was about to begin. The alien leader sneered at him, raising a weapon that hummed with deadly energy. "You are nothing," he spat. "You will fall, just like the rest of your kind." But Ryan was unbroken. He had lost so much already. Friends, comrades, and countless innocent lives. But he would not let Earth fall. He would not let the aliens win. With a defiant roar, he lunged forward, engaging the alien leader in a brutal, intense combat. The two clashed in a whirlwind of strikes and counters, the sound of metal against metal filling the air as they fought for dominance. The alien leader's strength was overwhelming, but Ryan's speed and determination kept him in the fight. Every move he made, every strike, carried the weight of the entire human race. It was a fight not just for survival, but for everything humanity stood for. Around them, the final assault on the alien fleet raged on. Human forces, though battered and scarred, continued to push forward. Explosions shook the very ground they fought on, and the sky above was a chaos of fire, smoke, and debris. The final battle was taking place on multiple fronts. Humans fought on the ground, infiltrating alien ships and fighting through the streets, while above, the alien fleet continued its assault on Earth. It was a war for the survival of the species, and the outcome was uncertain. The battle between Ryan and the alien leader raged on, each blow more devastating than the last. The two were evenly matched in skill, but Ryan's resolve was unmatched. Every strike he made was fueled by the memory of his fallen comrades, the friends he had lost, and the unshakable belief that humanity could triumph. He would not let the alien leader's arrogance be the end of them. As the final blow was struck, Ryan felt the alien leader falter. With a final decisive move, he drove his weapon through the heart of the alien leader, ending the battle once and for all. The alien leader's cold, defiant expression melted into one of disbelief and shock as he collapsed to the ground. The central eye, its power now broken, flickered and shut down, causing the alien fleet's systems to collapse. The invaders had been defeated. The humans had won. Earth had survived. The cost had been immense, but the victory was theirs. The final stand had been a testament to humanity's spirit, to their unyielding determination to fight for their home, no matter the odds. Ryan stood amidst the wreckage, his body bruised and bloodied, but his heart filled with a sense of triumph. Earth had been saved, and humanity had proven that no matter how strong the enemy, they would never back down. The battle was over, but the war was never truly won without sacrifice. As Ryan looked out at the wreckage of the alien fleet, he knew that the fight had come at a high price. The cost of survival had been steep, but the human race had survived. And as long as they had that will to fight, they would always find a way to rise again. The battle was over. After an intense, heart-stopping confrontation, Ryan Knight stood amidst the wreckage of the alien leader's command center, breathing heavily, covered in dirt and blood, but victorious. The final blow had been struck. The alien leader was dead, and with his death, the heart of the alien force was torn apart. As Ryan watched the central AI system, once a powerful force controlling the alien fleet, begin to flicker and collapse, he felt a sense of awe and disbelief. The alien machines, once so superior, were now tumbling into chaos, their systems failing one after another. The hum of alien technology that had once filled the air now turned to silence as the alien ships lost power. The once thriving fleet began to break apart, pieces of alien warships falling from the sky, their weapons going offline as their once mighty coordination shattered. The remaining invaders, realizing their defeat, turned tail and fled. The once feared alien forces, so sure of their victory, now retreated in disarray. They had underestimated humanity, and that mistake had cost them dearly. Earth, against all odds, had won. Ryan felt the weight of the victory press down on him. Despite the chaos and the noise of retreating enemies, there was an overwhelming stillness in his heart. The cost had been high. Bonner, his closest friend, was dead. So many good men and women had fallen in the fight for Earth. He could feel the emptiness of their absence. The victory was bittersweet. The faces of his fallen comrades flashed before his eyes, faces of friends who had fought bravely beside him, only to be lost to the war. Bonner's death was still fresh in his mind, and the pain of losing his friend would never fade. But as the alien fleet retreated into the dark void of space, Ryan couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had done the impossible. They had faced an overwhelmingly powerful enemy and had won, not through superior technology, but through their sheer will to survive. They had shown the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. Despite being outgunned, outnumbered, and technologically inferior, humanity had fought with heart, with unity, and with an unbreakable determination. Earth had proven that no matter how dark the odds, humanity would always find a way to rise. Standing amidst the destruction, Ryan thought about what this victory meant for Earth and for the human race. The war had changed them all. It had stripped them of their illusions, forced them to confront their limitations, but it had also revealed their greatest strength. They had faced extinction and come out on the other side not as survivors, but as victors. The alien invaders had been an advanced, technologically superior force, but they had underestimated the one thing that had always made humanity powerful: their ability to fight for each other, to stand united, and to never give up, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. Ryan's reflection was interrupted by the sound of footsteps behind him. His remaining soldiers, weary and bloodied, had gathered around him. They had fought through hell and back, and now, as they stood together, they could finally feel the weight of their victory. They had earned this moment. The silence between them was filled with the unspoken understanding of everything they had been through. Earth had survived, but the cost was heavy. One by one, Ryan's comrades approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder or standing beside him in a quiet moment of respect. Each of them carried the weight of the war in their eyes. They had all lost something. Some had lost friends, others had lost family, but they all shared in the hard-won victory that now belonged to humanity. They were battered, broken in places, but they were not defeated. Together, they had defied the odds. They had shown the universe that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. As Ryan looked out over the horizon, he could see the wreckage of the alien ships still falling from the sky. The once terrifying fleet now lay in ruins, scattered across Earth's atmosphere like broken toys. The battle was over, and Earth had emerged victorious. But Ryan knew this was just the beginning. The war had taken its toll on the planet, but the strength of the human spirit had proven to be far greater than any alien invader's force. The soldiers stood together, looking out over the city. The skyline, once a battlefield, was now a symbol of humanity's resilience. They had defended their home, and they had won. But there was more work to be done. The war had ended, but the recovery had just begun. There would be no easy road ahead. Cities would need to be rebuilt, families would need to heal, and the world would have to come together again. But Ryan knew one thing for sure: humanity would rise. They always did. As he turned to his team, Ryan smiled. It was a small, tired smile, but it carried with it all the gratitude, pride, and relief he felt in that moment. They had done it. They had survived. Together, they had saved Earth. The alien invaders would never forget this defeat, and neither would the people of Earth. The story of their victory would be passed down for generations to come, a testament to the unbreakable spirit of humanity. Ryan's thoughts drifted back to Bonner. His friend had given everything, just like so many others. The soldiers who had fallen, those who had given their lives so that Earth might stand, were not forgotten. They would live on in the hearts of their fellow soldiers and in the stories told by those who survived. Earth had been saved, but at what cost? The sacrifices made would forever be etched in Ryan's mind, a reminder of what they had lost in order to gain victory. But there was one thing that would forever be clear: humanity had proven their strength. No alien force, no matter how powerful, could break the spirit of mankind. They had faced their darkest hour and emerged victorious, stronger than ever before. The galaxy would now know that Earth was not just a tiny, insignificant planet. Earth was a world of warriors, of survivors, and of those who would fight for their home no matter the cost. As the sun began to set over the horizon, casting a golden light over the devastated city, Ryan stood tall. His soldiers stood beside him, each of them reflecting on the victory they had earned. Together, they had changed the course of history. Earth had won, and humanity had shown the galaxy that no matter how powerful the enemy, no matter how dark the future seemed, they would always rise. And with that thought, Ryan turned to his team and began to walk towards the horizon, ready to rebuild, to honor the fallen, and to ensure that Earth would stand strong for generations to come. The war was over. Humanity had won.